Why can't we be happy with what we legitimately earn? Why this competition to enrich oneself by all possible illegal means? Just see the days of 50s, those of you who were at an understandable age. 100 rupees bribe if an officer took. They used to say, my God, he took 100 rupees. There were 2 zeros in it. What's happened today? What's the amount of bribe involved? What's the amount of illegal wealth acquired? How many zeros are there? How many scams are coming out? I was with a team called India Against Corruption, Bangalore chapter. They drew up the particulars of scams from 1947 to 2012. All big scams, not 1,000 rupees, lakh of rupees. And the first scam that came on the list was of 1948, the Jeep scandal. About 60 lakhs of rupees was involved in that scandal. It grew every time thereafter, the amount involved. In 1984-85, there was a scam, the Bofors. The amount involved is 64 crores, from 70 lakhs to 64 crores. 2010, we have 2G, which according to the CAG is 1.76 lakh crores of rupees. The same year, there was another scam, the Commonwealth Games, CWG, 70,000 crores. 2012, we have Colgate. Again, CAG says 1.86 lakh crores. Can this country survive with that much of money being siphoned off? Recently, the Honorable Prime Minister said that the diesel and other petroleum product prices were increased because oil receiving companies were suffering loss to the tune of 1 crore 10 lakhs of rupees. One scam, it was deducted in time, and that money was reimbursed to the loss that suffered by the oil receiving companies. Problem would not have been there. Who is responsible for these scams? Are the Aam Aadmi? Or the people who are in power? The manner in which people are in power are speaking, it looks as if all of us are responsible for that scam. This is the way it is. From 1947 to 2012, IAC has calculated the loss by these scams as 9 crores of rupees. 9 crores of rupees. If that money were to be divided between all the villages in this country, each village from the 1947 till date would have got 126 crores of rupees. Of course, for 64 years. Imagine the development that could have taken place if all that money was again used in its entirety. I say this because in 1986, then the Prime Minister of India, late Rajiv Gandhi, said, for every rupee the government gives for the benefit of the poor, the beneficiary gets only 15 paise. This is the methodology in which our development is taking place. Everybody speaks when he is in power. Look at my constituency, look at my state, look at my country. It is developed. Of course India is developed. Not because of our rulers, but because of the entrepreneurship of the people by their own. Let not the government take any benefit for what the growth we have achieved. If you have to see what growth they have achieved, let me repeat it by saying, I saw a picture in 2010 in one of the vernacular dailies in Bangalore. It depicted the picture of a lady sitting in a totally desolate place with a pot next to her and scraping the topsoil with her bare fingers. And the article below that said, she has walked 4 kilometers in search of water. And if she's lucky and gets 1 pot of water, she's very, very happy. She will walk back happily. And that 1 pot of water is what is available for our family for their water need for the whole day. Drinking, cooking, forget washing or bathing. Is this the development we are talking about in 2010? Why? We don't have water resources, at least for drinking purposes? Or don't we have the necessary financial support to take the waters to the villages? Yes, we have. But they don't go for the purpose for which it is given. In 2007, CAG reported to the Government of India that out of the lakhs and lakhs of crore given by the Government of India to every state for implementation of 8 rural-based schemes, drinking water, supply of electricity, integrated child development, midday meals camp, Gram Sadak Yojanas, primary health centers, primary education system. Such like 8 schemes only, the Government of India gave lakhs and lakhs of crores of rupees to the state government. Out of which, for 1 year, 2006-2007, 51,000 crores of rupees is unaccounted for. This is what happens to the developmental project. Where does the money go? We don't inquire. But we say, I have given so much of money for that project, this much of money for the project. Are we still going to accept this type of governance? I would say, not for my sake, but for the sake of the youth and their future, there should be some change in our integrity, in our thinking, in our demands, in raising our voice against illegality. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are slowly losing humanism in us. I don't think every one of us has a right to say that I'm a human being. Let me give one example. 2008, a young tailor and his wife brought their 8-month-old child to my office, kept the child in the floor of my office and said, "Sir, please look after this child, we're going to run away." I coaxed them to sit down in the chair and lift the child and tell me what's the problem they had. They said, this child is born with a small part of the lower intestine missing. It eats through the mouth, defecates through the mouth. A problem which would have never given this child a place in the society. They said, we were told to take this child to a super specialty hospital where a pediatric surgeon can reconstruct the missing part and make the child all right. They took the child to a government medical college hospital where the pediatric surgeon assured them that he will operate. But he demanded certain amount of money which they didn't have. They said, we don't have the money to pay. Then the surgeon says, okay, in that case, I'll make a small hole in the rib cage so that the fecal matters will pass through that. It doesn't have to come through the mouth. Not being satisfied, they brought the child to my office. I'm not giving this example to get any appreciation for the work that Lokayukta Institution did, but to give material to understand, are we, all of us, are human beings or not? I sent my officers with the recommendation letter to all private super specialty hospitals begging them. The exact word was, the Lokayukta is begging to give this child a future. Many hospitals agreed. One of them said, we will do it tomorrow in Bangalore. And they did it. Child is perfectly all right today. The example I'm giving is this doctor. When he passed his MBBS examination, he took an oath, which is ironically called Hippocratic Oath, because it was drafted by a Greek physician whose name was Hippocratic. He really made that oath a Hippocratic oath. Thereafter, God gave him the facility to go for higher education, become a surgeon. And he joins a government hospital meant for the poor to be free. He didn't have the heart to help this child. This type of cases do not come to him every day, according to me. But in that rare days also, when such case came, when he had the capacity to help the victim, He didn't have the heart to do that. How can he be a human being? In this part of the country, there is a saying, become what you want to become in life, but become a human first. This is the thinking of our elders. Any human being, whether he was rich, poor, or others, who had this knowledge to help this child, if he was a human being, would have helped this child. The fact that he did not tells me, if he was born a human being, he'd lost his humanism on his way. If he was not a human, he didn't acquire that humanism. How can, in a society, this can happen? I got hundreds of examples which I saw, noticed, and felt during my tenure as Lokayukta. I feel, in retrospect, minus my Lokayukta tenure, I was just a frog in the well. I've seen the corruption in administration, consequences of corruption on poor people. I've seen irregularities in every department. And the government of Karnataka committed a mistake by referring the irregularities in mining to me. And I found 3 of the people who were chief ministers. One was then a sitting chief minister, guilty. 797 officers were indicted. 9 ministers were indicted. Is this the democracy our forefathers contemplated? Is this a system meant only for the people who get elected by the people? And what is their thinking? They don't think they are public servants. I recently saw, maybe a year back, when a discussion was going on in regard to the passing of Lokpal Bill, a member of the parliament read a letter written by Anna Hazare to the Honorable Prime Minister, wherein there was a sentence. Mr. Hazare reminded the Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, do not forget the fact you are a public servant. He took exception to that. He said, look at the audacity of this man. He's calling the Honorable Prime Minister a public servant. What will he call us? I would like to ask him, who is he? Is he not a public servant? I was a public servant when I was a judge of the Supreme Court. I was a public servant when I was a Lokayukta. The public servant is he who draws some emoluments from the government exchequer. President of India is a public servant. They're ashamed to call themselves public servants. Most of their predecessors went into politics to serve the people. The word service was there. Today they don't want. Look at the audacity, another example. When Anna Hazare demanded the government to have a dialogue with this committee, with the ministerial team, one of the members of the parliament said, who are you, unelected, unelectable tyrants? Who are you to negotiate with the government? Here is an elected representative, got elected by the people of the constituency, is questioning the very voters, who are you? Audacity lies not on Anna Hazare. It lies with the people who are questioning the right of a citizen of this country. There is no institution which is supreme under the Indian Constitution, be it the legislature, the executive, or the judiciary. They are all creatures of the Constitution of India. Let us not forget the Constitution of India is not given to us by the legislators or executives or the judiciary, or by the foreigners or Maharajas, nobody. It is given to us by us only. On 26th of January 1950, when Indian citizens adopted the Constitution, it became the Constitution of India. And the very first sentence in the Constitution says, we, the people of India, adopt this Constitution. Therefore, if there is somebody who is supreme in this democracy, it is we, the people of India, and none else. Let's not forget that. But thinking has changed over the last 62 years of democracy and 65 years of independence. We have kept them in such high pedestal. They think that place is given to them under the Constitution, and that is their birthright. Recently, when two members of the parliament who had seen the inside of jail for 8, 9, 10 months was included in the parliamentary panel, one of the persons who supported that, also a member of the parliament, said it is his right to be in the parliamentary panel. Don't we have decencies? Do we have to have them in the panel, not only in the Lok Sabha, but in the panel also? Having been accused of plundering away thousands of crores of rupees? Ladies and gentlemen, there is no better system than political system than democracy. But it has gone the wrong way. When it went wrong, then the people who had the voice to stop it didn't stop it. The way ahead is not simple. It's going to be difficult. But that attempt should be made. Time is running out on this country. As is said in the Chinese proverb, even a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. If we have not already taken that first step, I think we have to take this first step these days. Thank you very much for listening to me.